Two, one. Awesome. We are live. So, welcome to this real, raw, and related conversation with Becky Simmons Lambert. So excited to have her here. She is an amazing woman that I've connected with over the past year and been able to be a part of her journey with food. And today, for the very, very, very first time, she's going to be opening up and sharing about her journey with food. So it involves an eating disorder. It also involves a journey with yoga that she has enabled her to find her way out and has become a part of who she is now and helping other women and people in that space of looking for that mind, body, soul connection. And so what she's going to be sharing today is sort of how her journey took the path of food being sort of a way out for her, some of the underlying things about shame that was in there, and how she's been able to turn that around and change her life. So Becky, so amazing to have you here. I'm like, my heart is so full because I remember when we first spoke. Yeah, I just remember when we first connected about 9 months or so ago, and I would imagine at that time you probably wouldn't have been willing to get on air and share and open up. So it's amazing to see how you're in such a different place and you're just going for it. So proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And a lot of that is because of you and the time that we spent, digging in and kind of getting to the root of what's happening and why, and that was so important. So thank you for that. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
yeah.
I appreciate
Well, my pleasure. And getting to that root stuff is so important because a lot of times we think that it's all about the surface, right? It's all about the behaviors. If I just change the behavior, everything will be fine. So,
Right.
so what I would love to hear from you to start off with is what was going on in your life and sort of create for us the context of when and how food became a way out or a coping mechanism or however you want to speak about it, but that started to become, like we said, the behaviors started to change. But what was going
Yeah.
on inside? What was going on at the roots?
Sure. So I think the process for me and the eating disorder and the addiction, the addictive behavior and how it came to be, it really stemmed from this place of control and perfectionism. And because I didn't quite feel like I was getting to that, I kind of felt shameful. And which lended itself to, well, how can I control or perfect? And that was easy enough with food because it seemed very logistical. Like, well, if I eat this, then this, then this, then this, and then I will have control. And soon enough, like the root problem, it's not about just eating a certain amount or all that. It was more around how I didn't feel like I was enough somewhere. Like I needed control because there was not a lot of stability in my life at that time. Because adolescence, going through this process of figuring out who you are with not a lot of great role models and not a lot of great people or support to direct you, feeling like I needed to take all that on. So I would say that food seemed like a reasonable outlet to kind of feel that false sense of control.
And do you have any inclination or understanding as to why food, right? So why food as opposed to some other mechanism, maybe drugs or alcohol or excessive shopping or, any other number of things that could be thrown into sort of that addictive behavioral category?
I think food was the easiest to hide because it's like hiding in plain sight. It's always there. You can't hide. I mean, you can hide drugs, but it's different. It's like and it's you can be without drugs too, so it's not as challenging. You can be without alcohol. You can't be without food. It almost was like so accessible. It was just so always there, and I think there was a lot of okayness with not eating and to the beginning of it, like you got a lot of feedback. Like there wasn't a lot of okayness with over drinking too much or doing drugs. Like that was always not, that's, taboo. No, that's bad. But to just have a salad, oh, good for you, good job. You must be, on a diet, you're losing weight, and I was like, well, I'm gonna be the best at that diet. So if it's just, a salad, then maybe I can just take out some of the stuff from the salad, and then I would be doing a really
Sure.
good job. And so, that's, I think, how the door opened up. And then once it did, I didn't quite realize, how deep that went, from there.
It's so interesting that you say that because it's almost as if with food, there's a bit more of a societal acceptance or the behaviors with it fit into societal norms. So, like you say, I can hide behind that. So it's almost applauded. Oh, look at Becky, she's being good. She's only eating the salad, and it becomes that it's encouraged in that way because you're getting this positive reinforcement to keep at it,
Yeah.
without the recognition from other people that actually the intention behind the behavior may not be as pure as it seems.
Right. And I think for me, it started around 16, 17. And I think at that age, it's a slipper, it's a big turning point for girls, and if you don't have that person to say, hey, it's not about just having the salad, because a lot of society and you're getting all that good stuff back. You need that strong force to say, that's not what's really important. That's not the intention behind it. Who you are, all those big things about being enough, and all that stuff is so important for young girls at that age, because that's where we lose so many in the eating disorder.
Yeah.
So and that's what I felt like personally happened.
Yeah. No, it's so interesting, especially because there's so much focus and attention on like healthy eating as well. And so depending on which direction your relationship to food is going, but if it's going down the road of I want to lose weight, and so I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to restrict my calories, all that kind of stuff, it can very much become hidden, like you say, about what's going on inside of that desire to be enough and
Right.
and desire to really have that almost self-esteem or self-confidence that, like you say, at that age can be really tricky.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's what it comes down to, is that we hide behind healthy eating in order to mask the feeling of not enough. So really if we love ourselves, we'll eat healthy, and there's no game, there's no diet you need to be on, the choice is already there, because we already know we have everything we need or want or desire. That's all there. So if we eat healthy because of that, then that's what the healthy eating is about. Not to change something about us, not to make us better or different or more, or because we lack something, but because
Yeah.
we're getting something back.
That's beautiful.
So,
So it's like the intention behind the choice, the behavior can be the same, but one, is it coming from a place of love, or is it coming from a place of lack?
right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So how
Hmm.
are you able to change that for yourself and go down a different road and leave the eating disorder behind and know that you are enough and be making those choices from a healthy and love-filled place?
So my journey is super long with eating disorder, because it was pretty prevalent from about 16 to 20, and then disappeared for 12 years. I thought I was fine. I thought I was cured, and that was okay. And then I went through a big life change, and kind of the rug torn out, and I was looking for that control again. And before I knew it, at about 31, 32, I was back in the throes of an eating disorder. And I was really, for the first time, gonna go after this head on for me. And what I did, and I did some coaching, and I really did a lot of reminding of that space where I talked about before. It is the behavior. It's not so much the behavior of the actual doing. It's the behavior of your thoughts. So if I had a debilitating thought, maybe I would say, "But I'm enough." So, that eating, that thought that would make you feel like, "Oh, my butt looks big," something like that. That would be like,
Yeah.
"But I'm enough." Oh, this about me, because usually it's a body image thing, and that's kind of the eating disorder loves that thought. It really does. So instead of numbing it or hiding with a food to kind of quiet that thought, it would be the it's okay. It's okay. And a lot of that belief of it's okay has been through the yoga.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there were times as a teacher that I was going through a lot, and I thought, gosh, I can't teach right now. I can't. Who am I to teach?
Yeah.
I'm like, I could barely get in the car to get here. What do I have to give? And it taught me that I could put it down and give to someone else enough that I was like, oh, well, why am I even picking that back up? Like, why don't I just keep that down and continue to realize that I have that choice to give, and that, you know what, everyone here is going through something, and that maybe I can use whatever I'm feeling for them.
That's amazing. And I just want to pull that out, the fact that you were saying I was able to put it down long enough for bouts of time to be able to kind of step outside of my world and into somebody else's and give, essentially, is what you're saying, right? So whether you want to call it giving, service, whatever, but it became not about you anymore. It became about them and other people. And empathizing that they're on a journey as well. They've got stuff going on in their life. I think that's beautiful. And it was a huge part of my own journey as well, of realizing, if I'm focusing on someone else, I wasn't doing yoga, I was tutoring at the time,
Mm-hmm.
helping a woman get her GED equivalent in New York. And those spaces of the time being about her as opposed to me, where I would have been going to the gym, you start to go down a different path. And I think what's beautiful is that you're saying, I did that from a place where I didn't feel whole necessarily. I didn't feel 100% that I was enough, but I did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. And was there anything, I'm just wondering for people listening, if there's anything that you could just talk a little bit more about there of that, I guess, dichotomy of like, I don't feel like enough, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like, what kind of gave you that power or permission to go ahead and give, even though you still had doubts about yourself?
I think through it all, through all the ups and downs, whatever it was, there is something inside of us, and something inside of all of us that shows itself, especially in the darkest moments. And I honestly believe that it was that. I don't know how to explain it, really. I don't know, like, if there was a connective thought about that, but I think that was the space that I needed to draw from in order to get through it. And and my own yoga practice as well. Like, when I am on the other side of the mat, or on the other side of the room, and I'm on my mat and I'm in my meditative state and I'm in my practice, it's a reinforcement of that, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and this is what I should be doing. But I think the power, that place of, even though nothing seems to be going right in my life in terms of how I see it, or the ideal, and like that negative thought, there's an underlying power that I think we all have, that is the space that I had to touch and reach upon in order to believe that I was exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like, I've set my life up to teach this class right now. Like, I'm supposed to teach this class right now. I have to draw on something inside of me, and the more, and just doing the act of doing that proved that power was there, and then it would just kept building and kept building and kept building, so that now, as we were kind of mentioning earlier, if I have a day, or if I have a moment or some time, I'm very aware of that negative feeling, that negative thought, because I have to know every day, like, not to say every day I have to battle the eating disorder, but every day I know that there's something that could bring a lot of resistance into my my happiness.
Yeah.
So I get back to that place quicker, though. It's not just before I would teach a class. It's like
Yeah.
within a day. It's like, oh, I signed myself up for this meditation class today. What do you know? I created that for me.
Yeah.
So it's been a process. I don't know. Did that make sense? I feel like I kind of
Yeah. And I
rambled with
think
it.
what I hear from that is sort of this recognition of this deeper thing, sort of at a soul level, of whether it's intuition or this soul, the spirit inside, and it's listening to that and turning off the head, right? So
Yeah.
the head will say you're not enough, you're not good enough. Who are you to go and teach this class when you don't have your act together? All that kind of stuff, and it's sort of trusting that inner voice, that inner spirit that's like, do you know what? It doesn't matter. This is what you're called for. This is what you want. And really listening to that. And I love how you said how the more you listen to that, then the easier it becomes, and how you're now building on an upward spiral as opposed
Right.
to that downward spiral.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And is there
Yeah.
anything that you can reflect upon of like what gets you onto that path in the first place, right? So we all have that spirit, we all have that voice, that soul. And I know for myself, for a long time, it was buried, it was covered up, right? So from what we're saying, you just need that one little peek out, that one little spark to start the upward. So for you, can you reflect on what that one thing was, if there was a one thing?
That's a great question. I've thought about that a lot because I feel the connection so often and I don't always know how to explain it. And I think I remember it even from when I was little. Like I remember
Mm,
it from when I was a kid. I remember connecting with this feeling of I can create anything I want in my life. But it wasn't me personally doing that. It was the gift of life. It was the gift of just being here. I never
mm,
before I never thought that there was a difference between anybody in terms of societal, where they were in the world. I just always believed that we could create something out of nothing. We can make that choice as much as possible. um, I've had lots of experiences through meditation with a real connection to oneness.
mm,
That was later on, but I think the earliest memory I have of that soul or that spirit or that thing that drives me and everyone is from a really young age, from a very small age, is this belief. Because I don't come from a family that was saying, good job, you're the best, you're going to go do everything, like you're going to conquer the world. I didn't have the thing that we say that we should tell those kids. It was just there. It was just like always kind of bubbling.
yeah.
Um,
And so for you today, for someone who's listening who maybe they're like, okay, that's great. It's just there inside of me, but how do I access it? Because I haven't been able to in ages.
yeah.
And it
Hmm.
is covered up with the head stuff and the food
Yeah.
and God knows what else.
Mhm.
What works for you? I mean, it's going to work differently for everyone, but what works for you in terms of accessing that space?
Grace, right? So
And just
it's
say that
okay.
again. I want you to say that again.
It's grace. Grace. So you give yourself permission to have a bad day. You give yourself permission to just fully be you, and then um, work through gratitude. Work through the things that you're thankful for. Look for the gifts because they're always there. And I think that that's the start, is to first know that nothing is perfect in the way that we think it's going to be. And that's the biggest fault in our perfectionism and our try to get out of this space because we want it to be like this and it's never going to be like this. So just give it some grace. Like it's
Yeah.
okay. And and then from there, it's just layer as much gratitude on gratitude on gratitude on gratitude, and like you will find this space open up. Like the more you just laugh and look around and be like, are you like, this is pretty great.
Yeah.
And that's that's the practice. That's the change.
That's beautiful. I've got chills. My arm hair standing up, but I can like see through it.
Oh. Yay!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I want to open this up for some questions because we've got Sue who's joining us in the conversation. And Sue, I'm just going to unmute you so that if you want to chime in here, go ahead. And we also have someone watching. And if you're watching, we've got a Q&A set up, and you can access it by a little 9-box grid on the top of your screen and type a question there, and we can throw that into the mix as well. But I'll start off with Sue. Is there anything you wanted to ask Becky or throw into the conversation here?
Yeah, sure. Hi both. Hi Becky. Absolutely beautiful interview so far. Really nice to hear how open you've been with it all, really. I just wanted to ask on that last kind of topic of the grace. 100% agree with you, and that's where I think people need to start. But how do you stop yourself falling out of that pattern? So when you start thinking along the lines of gratitude and helping others before helping self, you know, everyone gets those days where it falls back to self. So how do you constantly remind yourself about that?
So for me, I'm a big journaler, so I make it a practice to maybe start a gratitude journal every day. Also, I think it's okay to think about yourself. I think that if we do believe in, give into this place of oneness, is that as long as it's in a very healthy way, you know, that we're taking care of ourselves, and that, you know, today is a me day, not because it's selfish or because you're, it's not negative. It's just like, that's part of the grace, you know, it's part of saying, today, these are the things that I'm going to do for me. I know, because essentially that's what we're doing every day, even when we're giving to somebody else, it's because we get back this great exchange. So I think that there is a fine dynamic between others and self. It's hard because we live in that world where everything seems like it's away from us.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Okay, thank you. That's
a great point, Sue, of how we're staying in that place, because there's like the getting there and then the maintenance. And I think what you guys are saying is great, and it's a great point to make, is that it's okay as well to take care of ourselves, right? And when we're giving ourselves the permission, like yesterday I took a nap. I haven't taken a nap in ages, but I knew if I don't stop and just pause and take care of myself, anything that I'm going to be doing that day is going to seem not enough. It's going to seem like it could be better, because I knew my energy was coming from this like go, achieve, make it better type of thing, as opposed to doing it with grace for myself. And so I think there's that awareness that we have to have, and maybe that's where, you know, Becky, you were saying the journaling, right, of creating that awareness so we know when we're going to slip back, and then pausing, and then doing what we need to get ourselves back up.
Yeah, I think it's because society and, you know, the way that I guess we've learned is all about that strive to perfection and that strive to fit in. It's one of those things that it's self-learned, isn't it? You know, like you said, Becky, it's not something that's taught or appreciated to you when you're growing up. It's very much a realization thing.
Right. And most of us, if we're looking for it, we'll find it. Well, we'll find whatever we're looking for, basically. And how we find it is our own journey. And I think that we're all on the journey of finding it, so we have to be very okay with where everyone is. So everyone's on their own path, and that we don't want to compare ourselves and saying that, oh God, they're further along, or they have this, or they have that. It's not about that. It's about us coming back to our center and our spirit, and knowing that we're on our own journey towards ourself, or what we need in this process of whatever it is.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of it, because everyone gets there in a slightly different way. You can learn off each other then, can't you? It'd be boring if we all did it the same route.
Right. So when we're striving, we're striving for our own sense of accomplishment in a very real, in a very pure way, not in a way that's going to be compared to or given a lot of attention by anybody. That's not why we're doing it. And if that's why you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and that's where you're going to feel a lot of resistance and difficulty and negativity. We have to figure out what that is for us. And for me, I do. Sometimes it's confusing, like the world's confusing. We get lots of different feedback from different things. And so I try to bounce everything off of this place of like vibrating with who I am on my highest level. And if that doesn't connect with it, I try to not give it any energy or any attention as much as possible. Yeah. Whether that be a person that comes into my life, a circumstance, a opportunity, I always am trying to gauge it if it really aligns with my truth.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sue, it's great to have you here and have an actual discussion. It's awesome. I'm loving it.
I've turned the video off, Kendra, not because I'm still on my PJs, honest. It kind of sucks up the bandwidth a little bit, so I've got the video off. So I didn't want to interrupt the call.
Oh, no problem. Well, it's great to have you here. Was there anything else you wanted to ask or throw in there? So.
No, I'm just enjoying listening. Honestly, it's a lovely interview.
Cool. Well, Becky, I've got one more question for you, because in the beginning you were saying how that desire for perfection and control was a real driver for you that turned you towards food. And I'm just wondering where you are now with perfection. Like, how do you guys get on?
Right. With perfection. Again, I'm okay. Like, I think that what I do is... Trust me, it comes up. I don't think it's not going to come up. We're being fed more about how to be perfect than we are how to just be authentic. And so if I feel it becoming too much, I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, I should already have all this stuff, and I should be this, and I should, and then it goes back to that feeling of I'm aware of it now. When that anxiety would come up before, I would reach for food, and I would sit down and put the TV on and have my box of whatever, and I would just be like, I don't care. And now I realize maybe I'm getting older, but nothing's killed me yet. That emotion, that fear of whatever I'm feeling, whether it's I don't have this yet, and it becomes so much that I need to escape that emotion. If I am just okay with it for a minute or two, it kind of goes away, and it kind of releases itself. As soon as I stop resisting it and fighting it, and send it some grace, and send it it's going to be okay. I loved what you said the other day about, so what was feeding it was this need. I was, I need to have this by now. I need this. And the more I thought about needing it, it was paralyzing me from taking any action, because I was like, I don't have it. I don't have it. I don't even know how to have it. I'm like, why don't I have it? And instead of actually doing anything, I was feeling this negative energy around me. But if I change that to I want that, that's something I want, it becomes a desire. It becomes a goal. Maybe I could plan it out a little bit, and think about it in a way that's if it's something that I want and I want to attain it, and I don't have it now, maybe I make a plan for it. And maybe today it's just a small step towards that plan, and I get some of my power back. I get some of my positive feelings back around it, instead of that lack.
I was just going to say, it's more of that empowerment that I've got the choice. I can own my wants and desire, but it doesn't mean I'm lacking because I don't have it. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what perfectionism teaches, is that lack. When people say I'm a perfectionist, it's like, no, you're not. You're not a perfectionist. That's not a thing. It's it's just it's a fine line, and I just don't want people to feel like they're missing something, like they have to change something about themselves so much and so often in order to achieve this other thing that I don't even know if they want or not, if maybe they were fed or whatever.
Cool.
So, yeah.
And so how does if you are open to sharing, what does your relationship to food look like now?
So food, I get really excited about food now. I'm still trying to be more inspired with cooking, but that's just because I'm kind of lazy more than anything. And the whole idea of like figuring out the meal, buying it, cooking it, eating it, cleaning it, like that just, but with that said, I am really inspired how food makes me feel. And so I eat a lot of quote unquote superfoods, like my breakfast is just like so dense and rich with nutrients and like all kinds of healthy food. Like I don't bother putting anything into my body that I know is not going to fully benefit it. But there's still plenty of yummy things. It's still really delicious, but it's not as it's not as like this is good, this is bad in a way that would look like dieting, possibly. Yeah. That's what it was before.
Yeah, because before we were talking about that intention behind it, right? So it's like you could be eating the same thing. It could be a very like you say, nutrient-rich food package or meal. But is it because you're trying to achieve a certain outcome with it, or is it just because you're taking care of your body with it?
Right, exactly. And that's the difference.
Yeah.
So before it was always, whether it be achieve like a weight goal, or before if it was to achieve like a emotion, like a way to let it go, or like just escape, or numb. That's the best word for it. Now it's to enjoy it while I'm eating it, and then also give it to my body. Let my body have all that it really needs and feels good.
Awesome. It's like those two things. It's like the true purpose of food, right? It's like enjoyment and nourishment. And this is the amazing thing, right? It's like when any of us are in a place of we're living like in our true purpose or our true selves, then we can enjoy food with its true self and its true purpose of that nourishment and enjoyment. So awesome.
Right.
Becky, this has been absolutely amazing conversation with you. Is there anything else you want to, is there anything else you want to add? Any other wisdom or hope that you want to share with someone listening before we wrap up?
All I can say is take time as much as you can to just be quiet with yourself, and to try to find that space inside of you that has all the answers that you're not going to get from anywhere else. But it's inside of you, and it just takes a little bit of time to be okay with staying quiet within yourself, and then slowly build upon that. That's the only thing I can say.
That's beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Sue, is there anything you want to ask before we wrap up?
No, I don't think anything else springs to mind, Kendra. Just really nice to hear how positive you speak about food and being in that place of understanding and having time out, so it's lovely.
Cool. Well, and Sue, we'll get to hear from you in a couple of weeks, so even more exciting.
I'm preparing as I speak.
Cool. Awesome. Great. Well, Becky, thanks again so much. This has been amazing, and I'm so happy for you. And I just am so encouraged, and I hope for people listening too to be encouraged. For Becky to be able to share like this, it's just it's amazing, and I think even that in of itself is the hope that it is a journey. But once you set your mind to something, and once you say I'm not going to live like this anymore, it's not going to have this hold over me. It won't. And like we were saying before in the discussion with Sue and Becky, everyone's journey looks differently. It goes down different paths. But if you make that decision, you get there in the end. So
yes, exactly.
Thanks for being that. I'm trying to find the word, but you're just taking that stand for women, Becky. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. This was great. Good time.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we're going to wrap up now, guys. So thanks for listening and stay tuned. We've got some more amazing conversations coming up in the rest of March. So check out the schedule and we'll be talking with you guys soon. Take care.
Thanks. Namaste.
Namaste. Bye.